All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Myokinetix Podcast. Today we have Julia Searle from Wagner Lacrosse. I'm super excited to have her on. West Coast girl from Colorado, now loving the East Coast. So we got to talk about that. So, hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
No, I mean, we're pumped to have you because, I mean, honestly, you are super dedicated. We talk to the PTs. They're like, who do I need to have on? They're like, Julia.
Oh.
I was like, all right, that's it. Let's get her on. So do you want to tell our listener a little bit about yourself besides being a West Coast girl?
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Colorado, and I played lacrosse my entire life. That's what brought me to Myokinetix, is I had 2 hip surgeries the fall of my freshman year. So that's something I've really struggled with for the past 2 years, and that's why I'm here. But besides my injury, I like to hike a lot. I like to read books. I'm a business major at Wagner, so I'm in marketing. I just started a club, so I'm a president of a club.
Wow.
I also, I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. I like hanging out with friends. I love going to New York City. That's what brought me out to the East Coast. And yeah.
So, I mean, Staten Island didn't sell you?
No.
It was New York City?
It was the city.
It wasn't the wild turkeys?
No. No, it wasn't the turkeys. It wasn't the feral cats.
Oh my God. If
yeah.
you guys don't know, like Staten Island is like, so Wagner's in Staten Island.
Yes.
Staten Island is literally different. It's
a whole new world.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
There's wild turkeys running around and like they
Yes.
all travel in groups. I mean, I can't make this up. My wife did her rotation in Staten Island University Hospital.
Oh, nice.
In Staten Island. And that's when I'm like, when I went to visit her one time, I was like, why are there turkeys everywhere? And she's like, no, this is normal.
Yeah. Yeah, you get used to it. I was walking to class the other day, and they literally were in front of me, and I had to just wait for them to pass so I could go.
Oh, my God.
They run the school.
So, wait, what president of a club do you start?
So I'm a junior, and I just started an advertising club at Wagner. So we're like a more developing school. Obviously, we're not super prestigious, but our business school has a lot of great faculty. And so my teacher asked me if I would help him start the club and be president of it. So I said yes, obviously. And it's been great. I've learned a lot. But it's mainly you do this advertising campaign. So we got like 17 people. So I had to recruit everyone to come. And we make this marketing campaign for a real company. And this year it's Indeed, the job finding company. So they give you their problem. And schools across the nation do this. So, I mean, it's the first one ever at Wagner. So it's great to be a part of. Because we've never really had anything like this. But so you make your marketing campaign for Indeed, they give you their problem, and then you present it in April in New York City and compete against all these other schools. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I mean, no one can join, right? Not outsiders.
I wish. No.
Well, you guys got to apply to Wagner.
Yeah.
And then
school.
Whatever tuition you guys pay for, she get 5% from this podcast.
Exactly.
But let's talk a little bit about your journey in, obviously lacrosse got you to Wagner, right? And we always like to talk about using sport and using your talent as a vehicle to get to where you want it to be, especially in life. We have a lot of inner city kids that play football, and I always preach that, like, use your talent to help you get your degree, and then use the degree to help you sustain the life that you want. So let's talk about your journey into lacrosse. Were you always a one-sport girl, or do you play many sports?
I played multiple sports. So growing up, I mainly focused on lacrosse. Like, I did club lacrosse since I was in 3rd grade. But I swam in high school. I was on the varsity team. And then I also did field hockey for a little bit. It wasn't my favorite sport. But I think there was just the creativity of lacrosse was something I really loved. And then swimming, I liked being kind of independent and, learning to compete with myself. So I'm glad I did other sports in high school. And then obviously I had to focus on lacrosse because I wanted to play that in college. So I loved doing the other sports. I kind of missed them. But lacrosse was just where my passions lied because of the creativity, and I don't know, I just loved being out on the field, and with my teammates. I think that's something that was so big for me. So, and yeah, that's what brought me to Wagner. I had this goal to be a Division I athlete. Obviously, it's not huge out there in Colorado. Like, lacrosse is definitely growing, but I knew I wanted to compete at the highest level I could. So I did everything I could. I got recruited. Wagner was the best school I liked because it had the city and it had lacrosse. So yeah, that's where I am. And then I got hurt, but I've loved it ever since. So
let's talk about that a little bit. Not before you got injured, but I like the fact that you also competed in swimming, which is more individualized.
Yeah.
Right? So like if you play individualized sport and then you go into a team sport, like how do you make that shift? Because if you go, if you go into swim, you're like, oh, it's all me. Unless you do relay, but still, it's still mostly you.
Yeah.
And then when you go into lacrosse, like it's a team sport. Now you have to look for people. You rely on other people more. Like how do you make that shift? And what benefits do you take away from swimming that you apply to lacrosse?
That's a great question. I don't know. Like, I think I liked, like, I miss the sport of swimming, and I miss having that drive of just myself, because obviously you can't rely on other people. And I think that's something kind of that I miss, because like in lacrosse, you know, if your teammate makes a mistake or you make a mistake, you feel so bad because it affects your team and you want the team to do well. But in swimming, it's like, if I do bad, it's my fault. So what can I do to get better? So I think swimming really taught me how to be my own fuel, because, you know, I can't rely on my teammates. Like sometimes you do rely on your teammates, like, oh, they got it. Like, I'm tired. But in swimming, it's so mental. Like, it was so fun to push myself and want to get better. I think I'm a very, like, I don't know, I'm just an ambitious person, and swimming really helped me fuel that part of me, because I wanted to do better for myself. But then I think it really helped me going into lacrosse and be like, if I'm not better for myself, then how's my team going to get better? Like, it starts with me. I have to go do the extra work. I have to do the things that are going to make me better, so I'm a better teammate. But I think it definitely taught me a lot that I wouldn't have known just playing lacrosse. And I'm very grateful for that, because it was great. It was a great sport. But yeah, I just miss, because it's just you in the water. Like, that was something so special. And I've done, like, when I was first recovering, I did some swimming just because, you know, no impact or whatever. So I'd like to get back to it after college. But yeah, so that was great. It really taught me how to just, you have to be your own, like, especially mentally. It was huge mentally, because if you're not in the right mindset, you are going to do so bad in the water, because you really have to push yourself. And that's the biggest thing that pushed or shifted me into lacrosse, was you have to push yourself. You have to get out of yourself mentally, or the team's going to, you know, not benefit from what you're doing. So,
No, I love that. So I don't know if I told you this, but I grew up in Thailand. I swam competitively.
You did? Yeah. I didn't know that. Oh,
swimming was brutal.
It's brutal.
I mean, like, that's all we did. We would go to class, go to tutor, go to swim. We swam like 2 hours straight. And in the dark, it's just like, it's crazy, because
it's crazy.
That was the first time I discovered, like, you know, like the voice in your head.
Yes.
When you swim, that's all you hear.
Yep.
Like, there's no music. No one's hyping you up.
No.
It's just you.
Yep.
Counting your stroke. When are you breathing again?
Literally, when
is this gonna be over?
Literally, when am I gonna hit the wall and get to come up out of the water?
I gotta do a flip. How do I time my flip? How do I time my jump? I'm telling you, that was the first.
That's awesome, though.
I'm just like, oh my god, like the voice in between your ears.
Yeah.
Like, dictates a lot of things. I mean,
100%.
I mean, this is what I appreciated, was I bonded with my dad through swimming a lot, because he would pick me up afterwards, and I would get out of the water and immediately start crying, because it sucks.
That makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to be positive about it, but it's true. I would cry on the way to practice, after practice. Like, high school is better because I didn't care as much, but yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No, but then it's just funny to hear, as you're talking about going back to swimming, I'm like, I should go back to swimming.
Yeah.
But then we talk about how terrible it was.
Oh my God. No, it's traumatic. I look at a pool and I still have flashbacks. But, like, if I'm doing it on my own, it's better. Because, like, if there's not a coach, I mean, I like being pushed by a coach, but, like, leisurely swimming's so fun. I'd probably do it for 5 minutes instead of 2 hours. But the motion of the sport, like, I really respect and appreciate it. But that's so funny you said that. It was horrible, but I didn't want to quit in high school. And I could have been better, but, you know, if you don't practice every day, you're not going to be, you know, the best.
And, you know, like, knowing what I know now, and we've seen people who, you know, compete competitively in swimming. I mean, it's super taxing. Like, I mean, just because you're in water doesn't mean it's not hard. It's super taxing. Your shoulders get beat up.
Yep.
Everyone's get beat up. I mean, look at Michael Phelps. Like, I mean, he's
He's
always have cupping marks on him, right? He's always have something going on. So most swimmers that I have worked with in the past, I call them, like, they got sea legs on, right? So they don't know what to do when they're on land.
Right.
So how do you compensate for that? Because most, like, obviously,
that's an interesting question.
Have you seen your fellow swimmer that are good on land sport? Because it's not common.
No. One of my best friends growing up, she was a competitive swimmer, and she would always joke about how she had no hand-eye coordination, and she could never play lacrosse or do basketball or soccer even foot coordination. I think for myself personally, the kicking and that aspect of swimming really helped me like gain strength in lacrosse as far as the crossover. But no, if I did swimming, I could never do another sport. Like if I solely focused on that, and the same thing, like I swam competitively like for 2 years when I was younger. I just hated it. And I knew lacrosse was what I wanted to do. So I quit swimming, or not, competitively, because it just wasn't where my heart lied. But it's crazy. And I even was talking to a girl the other day, Wagner, she's on the swim team, and she's like, well, the trainers think we just, we aren't hurt because we're doing the same thing. Like, we'll never tear our ACL, we'll never have, whatever. But she's like, I'm in pain all the time because it is so brutal. And I think they deserve a lot more credit than they get. But no, all the swimmers I know, they've never really gotten to try other sports, which I think I'm very grateful for, because I could eat anything I wanted to when I was swimming because you just burn so many calories and you're in the water for so long. Yeah. And I miss that part of it, and being able to just go all the time and like feel so strong in my body, because it was just my body. I didn't have a stick. I didn't have a ball. Like, it was just me pushing myself. And that part was cool, but it was extremely taxing, like you said.
Yeah. So playing lacrosse in Colorado, when it's not as popular as it is here, like here you see like
everyone.
Yeah. So how do you find yourself playing lacrosse in Colorado in the first place?
So my dad played in college for like a year. He loved it. He played every sport growing up, baseball, football, basketball, whatever. And he just had this love for lacrosse. And he thought, so I have 3 sisters, they all play lacrosse too. And he thought all of his daughters would just love lacrosse, which is true. We all do really like it. So I think and I got into swimming because of him. Like, my mom swam too. So I think that's why I chose lacrosse. And then I just, I liked it better than the other sports. So I kind of dove into that. But he was the main contributing factor of why I started the sport, because, and it was crazy, because when I was growing up, there was only one club team in Colorado.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that, because there's like 8,000 here.
So many here, so many here. And even now, there's only like 4 or 5. Like, I coach for one, but it just started 3 years ago. And the one I had, like, you didn't have a lot of autonomy or choice in which club you wanted to play for, because there was literally only one or two. But it was a hard club. Like, it was a lot, but it was cool to know, like, we were making an impact. Like, the grades above us had gotten recruited to great D1 schools. Like, there was a lot of hope for us. So that was cool, being a part of that community. And it was definitely very rigorous, but I liked it a lot. But I had no other choices. Like, I was contemplating switching clubs because I didn't get the best support on finding recruiting, because it's way different. Like, out here, I would talk to my teammates. They're like, yeah, my coach came to my high school game. Yeah, I went to this camp. Like, I remember between sophomore and junior year of high school, I flew out and did at least 14 out-of-state camps because I wanted to play lacrosse. And I didn't get that exposure or access that the kids out here did. I mean, I had film and stuff, and we'd go to tournaments, but it wasn't the same, like, playing in a tournament versus playing at a camp and showing, like, what I could do versus, some girl just taking the ball and going to goal every single time.
No, I mean, it's so different though, right? Because the competition pool in Colorado is much smaller. Yeah. And if you stick out in that competition pool, then they're gonna say, well, how are you against all these other girls from different states? So not only do you have to be good in your state, now you have to fly out to different states to compete against those girls to then justify why you're good and you need to be recruited. So mentally, how do you cope with that? Because it sounds exhausting to me.
Yeah. It was a lot. Thank you for even saying that, because a lot of people don't realize that. Like, it's different. You have a bit of a disadvantage. I'm not saying it's impossible. So many girls have done it, like, including myself, have gone to that level, because a lot of girls want to play in college, but they don't have that type of connection. They don't have that competitive drive. I remember, so Michelle Tumolo was the coach at Wagner. She was on the USA team. I went to 2 of her camps. I was super interested in Wagner at this point. And I sat down with her and I said, I understand I'm not as fast as the other girls play-wise, because I haven't had that exposure. They've been playing at this level, this competitive level, this level of urgency, because it's East Coast, it's great lacrosse. Like, every time we came out as a club team, we kind of got destroyed because we couldn't keep up. Like, it wasn't the same. And so I was able to keep, show my stuff, be great in Colorado. But coming out here, it was definitely a struggle. Like, oh, am I going to be good enough? Am I going to be fast enough against the other girls? And my coach, Michelle, was like, I told her, I was like, full transparency, I have not gotten the same, level of competitiveness and experience, but I know I can keep up and I will get there and I will adjust. I think it's the being able to adapt part, and I instilled in her that I could do that, and I could show her that I was going to work hard because I wanted it. So I think the girls that really want it and want to work hard and really put themselves out there and show that this is the one thing they want and call it, like, this is what I want. I think coaches really will see that. And I'm so grateful she saw that, because it was difficult and it was exhausting traveling. Like, I would travel during swimming. I traveled during lacrosse. I'd miss practice. Would get in trouble because they're like, where are you, Julia? I'm like, I'm trying to go play somewhere. Talking to coaches, like, it definitely was hard, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, got to travel with my mom, my dad. Like, that was fun. And then, talk to these coaches, learn about lacrosse. Like, it truly made me better as a player and a person, getting that experience, and not everyone gets to have that. I'm very fortunate that I was able to do those things, but it was definitely hard. But like, coming out to the East Coast has been great. Like, I've definitely changed as a person because of it, because everyone you're surrounded with has that same drive and fuel. And I think that's why I really wanted to play lacrosse, especially on the East Coast, is because of that type of competitiveness. And, everyone wants the best for each other, and you're all going to get better because of it.
Yeah. I mean, I love so many things. So I think at some point you had to realize that your club coach was not going to be able to help you get recruited. And you had to kind of take ownership of your own future at some point. So what was that conversation like with your parents, right? Because you obviously need their support. They weren't paying for the tickets and all of that stuff. So how do you go sat them down, or was it them that pulling you aside? How do you guys, what advice would you give your younger self, especially for someone that's going to go through this where they have to go and make their own opportunity?
I would say really know what you want, because I've seen so many girls, and we've had this stereotype of Colorado girls getting recruited to these D1 schools. They either go to kind of the Midwest, like a smaller school, or they go out to East Coast, or they go to a big school and they really love it. But a lot of them have, quit because they're either too far from home or they weren't ready for it. Like, they weren't expecting this. And I think I would tell myself, like, really sit with it. Like, don't, because you get so, and this is every other sport. I talk to my soccer friends, everyone, like, oh, I have to get recruited. I have to be a D1 lacrosse player. I have to, I have to play in college, or what was this all for? And I think for the people out there that don't want to play in college, I think sports are so crucial and so helpful in helping you develop yourself as a person. So I think I would tell myself, like, if you don't want to play, there's this, but also there's this whole world of opportunity. But make sure you want it, because it's grueling work. It's hard. And they told me, everyone says choose the school because if you get injured, or if you, whatever happens, you want to like the school. And so I made sure to do that. So I would tell anyone younger, like, make sure you love the school, because you're ultimately there for an education. I knew going into college that I wasn't going to play pro. It's just not what I wanted. So, but make sure you want it, because like my sisters are getting recruited, and I tell them all the time, like, make sure this is what you want. Make sure your heart's in it, because you're going to be out there with girls who can do the same thing you can do. You're all there for a reason. But if you're not in it, you're not going to have that passion and drive to take that one step forward, to work harder, to do the extra reps, to go outside of practice, so you can actually ensure that you're on the field. I think that's what it taught me too, is taking charge of my own, future. Like, how do I want to be the best, and how am I going to get there? And then another aspect is just, I don't know, making sure you want it, and also like just believing in yourself. Like, you can't get down because one coach didn't want you. Like, I got plenty of no's because like one coach, it was a D2 school. She thought I didn't have the skills to play Division I lacrosse, or to play at the D2 level. And 2 months later, I got recruited by one of the best coaches in the world. Like, I just never trust one coach's opinion. It's always it matters what you think of yourself, and you can do anything you put your mind to. And I think that was something I struggled with, is, oh, I'm from Colorado. Like, can I compete with all these East Coast girls? Can I, keep up? And I knew I could once I started believing in myself and having fun. And I think that pressure of you have to get recruited can kind of deteriorate the fact that you aren't having fun, or, this should be fun. It's a game. And I would tell younger kids, have fun, be yourself, and just believe in yourself, because that's going to get you so far. Because if you believe in yourself, then you'll have that passion, and then you'll want to work hard because you trust yourself. And I think a lot of younger girls, especially, like, they don't get that mentor, or if someone turns them down, especially when they're not, getting that competitive environment and they are kind of isolated from that. And if they don't have someone to tell them, like with my girls that I coach, like I really try to be balanced. Like I instill confidence in them, but I also am like, we have to keep going. Like I'm not going to lose to this team just because they're from another state, just because they're from the East Coast or Arizona. I don't care where they're from. Like, believe in yourselves. And we won like 2 championships when we were behind. And I think I wish I would have had someone like what I knew now, obviously, to tell myself that and just like take a deep breath. Because my club coach, she also wasn't, like, she taught me a lot, but I wouldn't say she was that person for me because she had so much to do. And that person to tell you, like, to believe in yourself is huge. So.
Yeah. No, I think it's, because that's the whole point, right? You want to pass it forward. Right. Right? Because I always like to, I like to assume this, that the people that have come before me gave me the best resources, right? That's the best they can do. It's just like when it comes to like my parents, right? That's the best tool that they have. And then like it's not my job. Like I can't just go and say, well, I wish they gave me more. But what if that's all they can give me? Yeah. And then now it's my job to say, all right, well, can I take it farther? Right. Just like you coaching the younger generation of girls in Colorado. And I had a conversation with a patient here yesterday, and we were talking about like self-esteem and then like power in some way, like power from within. Right. But it only matters how you perceive yourself, and not many people should have. Well, people only have the ability to take that away if you give it to them. True. Right. Yeah. And we have, we work with both male and female athletes. Right. Some of them have got offered to like 40 school. Wow. But then if they get stuck on one school that didn't offer them, I was like, dude, why does that matter? Yeah. Like that one school doesn't mean anything. You're not going to go there anyways. No. You know? No. You're not for everybody. You're like not everyone likes vanilla ice cream. It's a 50-50. See? Yeah. And just to have that perspective shift, I think is huge. Agreed. And it's so funny too, because the way you say like, because if we switch sport and we're not talking about lacrosse and we put hockey, now people in Colorado would have a way high advantage, right? Yeah. And they'd be like, like the East Coast people are not as good as the West Coast people, right? Yeah. So to me, it's all the matter of perspective. Agreed. I think, like at the end of the day, like when we go into any situation, we have like preconceived notion of what's gonna happen. Yeah. Or like sometime in our heads, we already have like a predetermined outcome. Yeah. And most of the time, it has nothing to do with what we're about to do. It's about what other people say this whole time. Yeah. Right. If you go in there clean slate, be like, hey, just pretend what if you pretend that the other team is from Mexico? Right. And then they're like, oh, well, something random. Yeah, they don't even play lacrosse over there. Right. It's just all about like the power of perspective. So I love that you touched on that. One thing I do want to go over, obviously you mentioned your hips and your surgery and all of that stuff. And being a competitive athlete, and I like yourself, and I tell people all the time, like there'll be time where your body just kind of, we'll go through this. Yeah. It's a normal thing because you're playing such a high level all the time. Yeah. When was the first incident you had with injury, and how did you slowly work yourself back up, especially on the mental side, to regain that confidence?
That's a good question. I definitely think, like this morning, even I had a lift, and he was like, "You're gonna be sore after, Julia." And I know now the difference between soreness and pain, because I think that was a huge thing for me, is navigating that and figuring out which is which. Because after my surgeries, like, obviously it was so slow, it was such a slow transition, still going through it, like, and I think just validating the pain, like the true pain, because I went back after a year. I didn't really tell my coaches that I was still kind of injured, literally just went into the first practice because all I wanted to do was play. And I was just playing and pushing through this pain because I wanted to put on this face of, I can do it, I can play, like, I want to play. But I wasn't my best because I wasn't showing up as my full self because I was still, at that level of that pain. And that was prohibiting me. And I think that was super frustrating mentally because I wish I could just go out there and do all the run reps I could. And I did do that for a while till my body shut down and said, no, we can't do this anymore. Like, you need to stop. But I think that was the most frustrating part, and still is the fact that your body won't do what you want it to do. Like, you're supposed to be this young kid and, not have these injuries. Like, yeah, injuries are a part of it. You're going to feel sore. You're going to get hurt. Like, I sprained my ankle once, and I was at a recruiting camp. It hurt so bad. It was big as a balloon, but I was like, I have to keep playing. And I was fine. But it's like being able to compartmentalize, like, oh, ankle versus a hip. And people like my surgeons, my PT was like, this is a huge thing, Julia. Like, and that kind of got in my head sometimes. It's like, oh, it's a huge surgery. Like, this makes sense why this is happening. But then other people are like, you're fine. Like, keep going. And I think being able to kind of put those people's opinions in their place and just listen to my own body and my pain was important. But also the fact that it was so mentally grueling, still is. It's one of the hardest things I've done, especially because it's taken so long. And I, like, this last fall, my PT told me from Colorado was like, you need to take it easy, Julia, if you truly want to play in the spring. Like, you have to be smart about this because your body is not like everyone else's body. Like, it's been through some crap, and you need to make sure you're listening to it and listening to that pain. And if there's pain, you need to take a step back. That is so frustrating too, because like, I don't want to take a step back. I just want to keep going forward. And I want the only thing to be prohibiting is my mind. Like, I want my body to be in fine shape. And when your body like doesn't do the things you want to do, I couldn't squat for forever. It was painful. The other day I was here, we're trying to deadlift and I couldn't because my back was getting in the way. Like, it's not even about that. I didn't even care about that. It was like mentally, like, why am I not where I used to be? Where am I going to be? Like, that was the hardest part. It still is. Like, knowing that I'll be okay, like, whatever happens, but it's tough because you're not where you want to be. And I think the pain is so hard. Like, I can work through soreness all day long. Absolutely. But the pain was like different. It stopped me from being the player I wanted to be. And I think that's what got in my head was like, am I ever going to get back? Will I ever be able to compete at the level I wanted to? Because it's hard. No matter what injury you have, and even just being a Division I athlete, being a student athlete, like, it's hard. You're so busy. You want to have a social life. Like, it's tough regardless of an injury. And I think mentally, like, you just have to find the way to get through it. And having a support system, like, that's huge for everyone. So, yeah.
No, and listen, I appreciate the fact that you drive like 45 minutes to come see us. You really committed to it. Like, I always look at, like, there's evolution when it comes to like mental toughness and then physical preparedness, right? Yeah. So, like, maybe you can relate to this where in the beginning, you're physically strong, but mentally you're not there. Yeah. Right? And then you upgrade your mental capacity. Right. Now you're mentally like, all right, I'm ready. I'll run through a wall right now. Yeah. But then your body's like, nah, I'm not ready for that. So now you have to go back. So I always look at it. It's like your first car, it's like not the best car. Right. And then your second car, you're like, all right, the interior is a little bit better. Yeah. So like that's the physical stuff, but like it's not as fast. Yeah. Then your next car is like, all right, the interior is okay, but it's really fast. Right. So you have to keep like, it's always one thing over the other, right? Yeah. You upgrade your mind, you can upgrade your physical capability to follow your mind, and then at some point, if you work so hard, now your physical capability overtake your mind. Now you have to do that again. Yep. So it's always catching up both mentally and physically. Yeah. And what I love about being a PT is that I have the ability to talk to athletes, to anyone, like, hey, here's the problem. Right. Most of the time, it's like, hey, you're going a little too hard. Like, especially working with someone like you, it's like, hey, you're going a little too hard. We just need your body to catch up to where your mind wants to go. Right? And then once we get that, you're like, okay, now run loose, but also like have more of a internal feedback, like here's how you should move, this and that. Like most of the time when people come in here, it's like we spend a lot of time just finding out things of like, how were you running? How were you cutting? Why were you doing this? Like, why was the pain happening in the first place? Right? And with doing that kind of work, we do need to take some step back first in order to have a leap forward. Yeah. And to me, it's like either your body's telling you to slow down or we purposely slow you down. Right. So that way your body doesn't tell you to slow down. Smart. Right? Yeah. So the second one is harder because you don't feel it yet. Yeah. But on the first one, once you feel it, you're like, oh, you kind of have like, oh man, like this is not good moment. Right. And then that's when it's like a really deep steep. Like, so we always say we rather be the bad guy to like hold people back, get them where they need to be. And then from there, like, hey, great, you have all this foundation, you do all these things already. Yeah. Now you know what you have to do when it comes to the field. Yeah. And I think that's just anything in life. Like as you're taking on your new leadership role in this thing, like I'm sure you're overwhelmed because it's brand new. Yes. You're like, what am I even doing? Do I even know what I'm doing?
No.
And then once you do it, you're like, all right, this is not that bad, right?
Right.
It's just like a learning curve. You're like,
Absolutely.
all right. So I think you can apply, and this is why I love talking to athletes, right? Because whatever happened on the field is parallel to what happened in life.
True.
And if you can find that, I mean, it just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, it's still hard to do that because I'm a very stubborn person, like when it comes to on the field and off the field, but it's so true. Like, it's taught me, like, playing lacrosse, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Playing these sports, like, I'm so grateful I have the opportunity to, you know, not only play lacrosse, but also swim, try field hockey. You know, it's taught me so much. And, like, I can never unlearn those lessons because it's just, you learn so much, not only from your teammates, but also yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's so important. And I think what you said about the holding back is amazing because, like, my PT from home, you guys here were like, Julia, you need to take a deload week, or I think you might be doing too much. Like, that was the most frustrating thing to hear because I was like, well, I need to be doing everything I can at every moment of the day, taking each minute, like doing PT as much as I can. But it's like, there's a balance, and it does translate to life of when you need to work hard and when you need to kind of take a step back. And like my PT from home and you guys here have kind of been like, you need to work smarter, not harder. Like, where is that line of knowing when to work hard and knowing when to work smart? And I think that's something that has definitely translated in school and life with everything, because it's true. Like, everything you learn on the field does translate to life, a lot of it, which is great, and I love it. And in my new leadership role, I have felt really overwhelmed because it's a lot. Yeah. I can imagine starting a whole new business. Like, it's crazy. But once you get there, you're like, it does make it easier, because I've learned a lot of things that people my age haven't learned because they haven't had the experiences I've had. Like, and I hope to experience so much more. But just like what I've gone through and what I've been able to go through, like, it's definitely taught me so much, and it's affected the way I interact with people outside of lacrosse too, for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know if you heard of this concept. It's called like the law of diminishing return. So it's like, so like a bell curve, right? Yeah. So you can only put in so much input to get the maximized output. But there's a place in the curve where the more input you put in, the output start going down. Right. So like more is not better. Yeah. Right? So better is always better. I mean, I always pride myself in being the most efficient, lazy person. So I'll do like the most work that will give me the highest return. Right. I'm not gonna do it anymore. No. I'm also not gonna do it any less. But it's come with like learning. Like yesterday, it's hard. Like I didn't need to do like lower body. I was like, I probably should work out a little bit. Yeah. And I went too hard, and I got home. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so tired. I did that today too. So like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like, so it's always like you gotta check yourself sometimes. You do. Because sometimes you fly too close to the sun. You feel you're feeling yourself. Beyonce's playing in the background. You're like, all right, I'm gonna get in there. Yep. And then like 2 hours later, you're like, oh, that was a mistake. Yep. That was bad. Yeah, 100%. And it's true. Like, it just comes with learning, because it's hard. Like, especially when you're such a competitive person, or you have this drive to start a business, to be an athlete. Like, it's hard to turn that voice off. That voice makes you who you are, that drive, that feeling. But it's true. Like, you have to be an efficient, lazy person, or you'll just get burnt out. And I've definitely been susceptible to that, because I've been like, I gotta go. And then I'm like, why did I do that much? And now look at where I am. Like, sometimes it's not always beneficial. And that was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn, because I'd go to training and I'd want to do the highest weight, or I'd want to do the best I could. And it's like, no, slower is better sometimes, or this is better. Like, that was hard for me to learn, because I had this preconceived notion of, if you work hard and you do and go, like, you're going to get so far. And that's not always true at all. So we have this joke in like my friend group, right? And like, when someone does something that's they used to do like in the past, like my friend Jerry, like we'll call him like, hey dude, you're acting like 2016 Jerry. That's so funny. I'm gonna use that. Yeah, it's almost like, hey, you're acting like Colorado Julia. Yeah. Right? Because like, I mean, like, let's face it, right? You sometimes when we get to a certain place in life, we haven't upgraded our thinking to match where we are, right? Because in your head, you might be like, oh, I'm still that West Coast girl. I still have a lot of proof. I still got to lift heavy. Right. If you just take back, like, not really. I'm an East Coast girl now. I love New York City. There's more picture on you on Instagram, New York City, than there is of you in the mountains, right? So you can definitely say like, oh yeah, I am an East Coast girl now. I made it this far. Right. I don't need to do anymore. Right. All I need to do is just do what I need to do to maintain what I have, play smart, and then like, I mean, you're a junior. You have, what, 2 years or 3 years? Are you going to go grad?
No. Probably not.
Okay.
I just want to work.
Yeah.
Which is horrible.
Yeah.
I just want to get a job. I might go to grad school later, but right now for my path, I might just work and then go back to grad school. I'd love to go back, but.
So, I mean, the whole point is that now you have to think long term, right?
Yeah.
How's your body going to feel when you're 40? Right? I mean, this didn't hit me until, like, I turned, like, 32 because I was, swimming competitively and then do weightlifting competitively.
Wow.
And I'm just like, all right, yeah, when I wake up, I feel like I don't feel great.
No.
Like, like that's just part of it. Like when you throw your body against the wall for so long, like you're not going to feel good.
No.
So now I'm just like, okay, as I'm, getting smarter, how do I do something that make my body feels good? 100%. So like whatever you guys are going through in your journey, like we all been through it. And what we're trying to do, we're just like, we sound like a boomer, right? We're like, oh, don't do that. That's not good.
Okay, boomer.
I'm telling you, right? Sound like a broken record. But I mean, it's true. Like whatever we preach, we really live through it.
Yeah, you're right.
And, like the other day, I think like I came in, I was like, Danny, you got to needle me, man. Oh. Like I like my back. I was like, my back. And like most PTs, if you meet them, like they became PT because they're broken somewhere.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's not like we weren't broken.
Right.
Like we're like, all right, well, we were broken. PT works, so let me just be a PT. It just sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I definitely thought about doing PT for sure. I just can't handle, I don't know, needles. I think I just want to take a step back from sports and kind of see what else I can do outside of the world. But it's so true. Like, that's hilarious you say that because it's awesome because I've worked with PTs that haven't gone through what we've been through. It's just a different world. There's nothing wrong with the other side of it, but it is different. And when you have someone that knows and appreciates that feeling, it's like a breath of fresh air. Because like when I came here, I was like, oh my God, I'm saved. Like I can keep playing lacrosse. My body will be okay. Not even about lacrosse. Like I was in so much pain and there was no one out here on the East Coast. Like my PT from back home, because she's amazing. She's great. Like, and there was no one who could replicate that besides you guys. And it took me 3 years to find you, but I'm finally here. And
thanks, Katie.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Katie. But I've never felt better, and I feel so strong, like in myself. It's not even about like, yes, I want to play lacrosse. It's always been a goal of mine, but it's like I want to feel good at 40, and having these surgeries slapped me in the face and was like, okay, you're 18 years old, and you have to take 3 months, 6 to 8 weeks, whatever, to reteach yourself how to walk. Like never in a million years would I have pictured myself having to do that.
Yeah.
And when I still look back and I'm like, oh my God, wow, that's insane. Like it makes me stronger, but I'm like, I never had to worry about that stuff because I was such a fast kid growing up. Like I could do all the sports, nothing hurt. And now here I am, like if I bench too much or squat too much, like I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
And navigating that and feeling what your body wants to feel after you're done with those sports is huge. Because I want to feel good. Like after college, I probably won't run for like 2 years or something. I want to just take a break.
Yeah.
Because working hard doesn't always have to be, pushing your body to insane limits. Yeah. And it's nice to, because you do get broken. Like that's the reality of it. Like your body can only do so much, and figuring that out sooner rather than later is good because then you can still be strong in a way that you won't feel like crap all the time. And I think that's important to learn.
Yeah, and I think you discover a really good point where if you feel good with whatever you do, you're going to feel strong.
Yeah.
Right? Because most people would then, I need to feel strong, but strength dissipate as soon as pain come in, right? Because pain signals shut everything down. Yep. So you can be like the world's strongest man. The world's strongest man with back pain is now one of the weakest guy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, my rule of thumb now when it comes to like working out is just like it should make me feel good afterwards. Like I should feel sore, I should feel accomplished, but I should be like, all right, I feel great. I can go on with my day. Shouldn't be crippled for the rest of the day. Because if you feel good after your training or after your practice, then guess what? You're gonna do well in the game. Yep. Right? The game is where you really want to give it your all, do all this stuff, right? So I think it's a great discovery that you have so far, and plus you wouldn't get that unless you have injury. Like this is why I say like it's a double-edged sword. It sucks, but it's also good.
True. That's so true. I think it's someone asked me the other day like, "Oh, has this been a positive experience for you like going through the hip surgeries or whatever?" And I was like, yes and no, but mainly yes, because I definitely would not be the person I am today without having to deal with that. Like, it's caused me so much heartbreak and challenge that I'm so grateful for, because that adversity is really what pushes you to where you want to be. So it is a double-edged sword, 100%. I think it's still really hard to deal with, but you're right. Like, you should feel good after, and I think that was what was hard for so long, is because every time I would work out, I felt so much pain and I felt like crap after. But now I feel good because I've had good support and I know how to take care of my body, and now I can know what is pain and what's not, and how to truly put myself in a position of strength.
Yeah. I mean, it's like life, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you get your heartbreak by dating a bad guy, how would you know what a good guy looked like?
Exactly.
It's always
true.
the bad moment that teach. No one learn anything when it's good.
No.
Like,
no.
You know, when you're doing well in class, you don't really learn much. When you like really have to like grind to get the grades, then you're like, oh, that actually stick.
Right.
Like the other day, we were just like earth sign just came back to my head.
Oh no.
I was like, oh man, I really studied for that. So listen, thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
Before we go, where can people find you if they want to connect with you? They want to reach out, ask some questions.
I am the worst texter in the world, so
do Instagram. Don't give out your personal.
No. My Instagram is literally just my name with one extra A, so Julia Searle. So yeah, that's where. But thank you for having me. This is great. I've learned so much. I'm so grateful and honored to be featured. It's the best day ever. So yeah.
No, I'm excited. We're super happy to have you. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
And then, you know, we'll look forward to just seeing what you're gonna do, especially with this club.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, especially if anyone is interested to going to Wagner. Just make sure you mention her name, please, so people know.
Yeah.
All right. Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.